Hello there, this is your review for our final test. This will be short and sweet. There's not too much to cover for your final test here. So you can download the PowerPoint for this if you wish, but there aren't too many slides, 5 or 6 total. So, all right, let's talk about what your test is going to look like. There will be 10 vocabulary questions. There will be 10 application questions. 5 APA questions, 15 that are based on a journal article. So 40 questions in total. Now this PowerPoint, sorry, I forgot to edit that part. It says will be answered on a GradeCam sheet. That is not the case now because we are going to be doing the test on Moodle. And please pay attention to this next part. While you are answering your questions on Moodle, you will only be able to see one question at a time. The questions will be randomized so that, well, just basically to discourage cheating. So while we can't really supervise how you're writing the test, we've put some other things into place. So randomizing the questions and not being able to go back and forth. So please make sure that you are confident with the answer that you are selecting before you move on to the next question, because you will not be able to go back to change it. All right. Also, sometimes on Moodle with online courses, the Moodle test will show you immediately afterwards which answers were correct and which ones were not. Because you will have access to this test from 6 in the morning until midnight on our test day, I am not going to have that feature activated, so you won't be able to see the correct answers on your exam because we're trying to protect test integrity. All right, so let's just talk about each of the sections here. I mentioned that there's these 4, so I'm going to briefly talk about each of those. So the first section here, when we're talking about vocabulary and application, these are the things that we're talking about. These are the vocabulary words that you've encountered in our PowerPoint lectures and discussions in class before we went online. And then when we talk about application, these are questions related to our application activities. Hopefully these words are familiar to you, right? Causation, correlation, so the different types of studies. It might be helpful for you to create a word list and definitions beside them as a study guide, because flipping through your printed off chapters as reading material will take too much time, and your test, you'll only have 2 hours available to you to complete the test. And 2 hours is more than enough time, but if you haven't studied and you haven't made study guides, and you plan on reading through all of your chapters to find your answers, please note that you will not have enough time to do that. Okay, Section 3 APA, we're looking at the overall formatting rules, cover page guidelines, in-text citations, and full citations. So you will need to, if you haven't already, watched the material that I've posted about APA formatting. I put up a few videos. They're fairly long, and I posted some links. Please note that because I've posted these as videos on YouTube, there's a strategy behind that. It's so that I can see how many people have viewed it, how many views have been counted. So if I'm not seeing a lot of views, then I know people haven't watched it, and I know a lot of people have not watched my APA videos. So you will need to in order to succeed on this test if you also haven't been reading the material posted on the links. In Section 4, this won't be too surprising. It'll be sort of a in-the-moment test of your ability to read through journal articles. So I'm going to give you a journal article, and I will ask you questions about the hypothesis, methodology, intended audience, and results. And just to clarify what intended audience means, it does not mean who was being tested. It means who would benefit from reading this article. So for example, if it is an article about children with dyslexia, then who would be the intended audience? Well, it would make sense that maybe it is intended for teachers or parents who have children that are dyslexic. Okay, so that is intended audience. It's not for the sake of the people who are being tested necessarily. Who would benefit from reading the research? All of these terms, though, we've talked about, and you can access the definitions of those in the assigned reading material. So you'll be given an article, and you won't have enough time to read through it very detailed. So you'll need to strategize and use your skimming and scanning skills to locate the specific information that is necessary for you. Okay. So in your textbook, if you haven't printed off the chapters, but you have the digital copies with you, that's fine. You might find it useful to use the Control F function on the digital copies of your textbook chapters, and that way you can quickly find information. It's not a guarantee that you'll be able to find the answer if you're not very familiar with where the information is in each chapter, but it's an option. And if you have printed copies of your chapters, you should be using the highlighting, underlining, circling, margin notes strategies to help you quickly locate your information. So this here is a list of which chapters or readings, PowerPoints you should be referring to or reviewing before you write your test. Okay, I said this would be short and sweet. We're just at 6 minutes now, and that's it.